52-0 Notre Dame, a strong performance for the Irish offense and dominating effort by the defense. But for Bowling Green, I think they were who we thought they were, Tim. And there just wasn't any defense to stop Notre Dame from marching up and down the field today.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Notre Dame could have gotten into the 60s and maybe approached your 71 figure if Grant Loy hadn't come in and at least possessed the football. Obviously, they didn't get in the end zone, score any points, but it took the football away from Notre Dame a little bit. But, a good day for Ian Book, just 4 incompletions, 5 touchdown passes, tying his own record with others. I don't know if there's anything that happened here today that's going to make him a better quarterback or feel better about himself next week against USC, because they're going to press at the line of scrimmage like they did last year and make it difficult on him. But I thought he saw the field pretty well. I think he addressed about going through progressions and finding some people. And so, his confidence has to be a little bit up after a really easy performance against Bowling Green today.
And I think as important, talk about a guy whose confidence can be up, Javon McKinley with his first 100-yard game. Look, he's done it against New Mexico and Bowling Green. That was what was asked of Brian Kelly post-game. But he, according to Kelly, has kind of been coming along. Now, he dropped what should have been another touchdown. But guys that can get increased confidence going into the USC game, McKinley was one. Tommy Tremble scored a touchdown today. Tony Jones with 100 yards and some light work with 7 rushes. Yeah. Sebo Flemister back in. Jameer Smith looked like the Smith before toe injury. So in that way, I think it was a confidence boost for a lot of players that needed it.
As it relates to McKinley, we've seen him have drop issues in practice as well, so that's not a real surprise. But Brian Kelly said he was asked, what does it take for him to make plays in big games? And he said opportunities. And so those opportunities are coming up now. The tight ends got heavily involved. Cole Kmet first. Tommy Trumbull first, then Cole Kmet. Even Brock Wright got in the act on a beautiful call by Chip Long, a really, really great call. So things are starting to function a little bit now. Whether it's Bowling Green or New Mexico or whatever, as long as you can start getting those things incorporated, USC has a little bit more to think about. But remember, again, how difficult it was against USC last year. They pressed at the line of scrimmage and took Ian Book out of his game. They're going to have to come up with some answers for that. And I think maybe some of the things that have happened the last couple of weeks could provide those answers.
Defensively, the first shutout since 2014 against Michigan, as we like to note, 37-0 in that game. It was the pass rush today that kind of bailed out Notre Dame on the back end. A little Brian Kelly said if he had one thing he wanted to clean up, it would be that some things they got away with today, they absolutely will not next week against USC's trio of receivers. Overall, I think had Bowling Green scored a touchdown, it might have been a disappointment kind of watching them, the way they were operating. They just couldn't attack downfield. But I think the one thing they can carry forward Notre Dame is they were dominant at the line of scrimmage. They had more than 20 stuffs, more than 8 tackles for loss, and just what they have found depth up front will certainly carry over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, Jameer Jones heavily involved. If there's any question about whether they're going to preserve him, obviously they are not. I mean, I agree with Brian Kelly. There were some things of Quentin Morris. We talked about Quentin Morris leading up. What assets did Bowling Green have? Not a lot, but Quentin Morris was one of them, and he had 10 receptions for almost 190 for 92 yards, and they had some problems with him. But we had seen, again, I don't want to overplay Grant Loy, but we knew there was a possibility he would play, and he did some things against Kent State with an otherwise disastrous day that indicated to you that he could make some plays, and he made some throws. Now, next week's receivers, again, looking ahead to next week, those guys are really good. Pittman has become really, really good, and we knew about Vaughn's and St. Brown. So it'll be tough for next week, and as Brian Kelly said, they're going to have to tighten that up.
Some housekeeping notes on the back end of the roster. Cam Hart has moved from wide receiver to cornerback. That's probably a move for the future. Houston Griffith from cornerback to cross-training. Brian Kelly said at safety. That is probably a move to safety, as they do need a fourth safety, and it could get him involved in the nickel and dime when Sean Crawford is out. And then Lawrence Keys, simply as we reported at IrishIllustrated.com, resting with the heel injury.
And I'd like to add, we didn't ask about Jafar Armstrong because it was a little brief here. Mm-hmm. We'll have an opportunity on Sunday whether he is still in line. They'd originally said he'd be back for USC. He did dress today. Obviously was not involved in anything once the game began, but we'll find out on Sunday whether Jafar Armstrong will be available for USC.
That's it for us post-game. Tim Prister will have snap judgments and a report card. I'll have a notebook. We'll have a couple of columns, and we'll talk to Brian Kelly Sunday at his 2 o'clock teleconference.